Alright, so we're in Unity and we're going to take a look at setting up and creating materials. Right now I do have some textures I've loaded into the scene. So for instance we have this texture, and when you click on it the inspector will give you some information about the texture that you have loaded. And I simply drug these in. I created a new texture folder and just drug them in from the folder. So with this it tells us that our texture type is the default texture type, and that we have a texture shape which is a 2D, meaning this is a 2D map, there's no third dimension to it. So we have two different types that we can deal with. One is maps that are bitmaps, and the other are procedural generated maps like smoke, fog, noise. So with this, it gives us the information about our material. And I can grab this and apply it to a surface, but I don't have any control over it once I put it here. So when we go and play our game, and we look in our game view, it's there. But I can't do anything. I can't scale it. I can't do anything I want with it. So what we're going to do is look at making materials. And I have one material here I've made. I'm going to actually delete it. I have it applied to these two objects. And when you delete a material from the scene, you get this pink showing you that there's a missing material. And this is really a nice warning to tell you that you need to find the material, reattach the material, or create a material, so it won't be visible in the scene. So what we're going to do is just come up, right click, go to create, and go down to material. And I'm going to make a new standard material. So when we click on this material, it becomes visible in the inspector. And what I have is, I have new material, shader type standard. There are a lot of different types of shaders here. So we already looked at setting up a skybox in a previous tutorial. We did a cube map. But we're just going to do a standard material for this. So just to look at some of these attributes, not all of them, I have under main maps, we have where we can put in different maps that we want to use. So your Albedo channel is similar to your diffuse, but your Albedo does not contain, or should not contain, light and shadow information. So here I have this brick pattern. There is no shadow being cast from it, and that makes it a good map to be using in those slots. You really don't want to have highlight and shadow information in your game. You want that to come from your lighting. So I'm just going to go and put this new material on this first slot. And just to show this material, if I put it into the Albedo slot here, we have the same material. But I can do different things with it. I can come in, I can click and tint the material. So if I want to go into different environments, maybe different levels, we could have a slight different tint to the material. We can also go and I haven't set up a proper height map, but we can go and add something like a height map to this. I can grab it and put that in. So just to show this, if we come in, we flatten the height map, you'll see that we're getting that height information. So I set all the light grout to black, which will push it back. And again, I have to make adjustments to this to do a higher level, but you get a little bit of that depth appearance with it. Works better in combination with things like a normal map. But there it is. So you drag your texture into this slot, and if I click on this little button, I have the ability to remove a texture or add a different texture. I'm going to remove this texture and turn off my tint real quickly. And I'm going to apply this material to both surfaces, so here and here. And we're going to take a look at the metallic. The metallic is just going to look a little bit better on the sphere. So I don't have a map, but if I turn up metallic, you'll see we're starting to get reflection of the environment around. And again, we see it a little better on the sphere. So if we smooth out the material, now we're highly reflective. And it looks more like a metal. And that's our metallic. Again, we can put a map into this to have different parts of this more metallic or less metallic. Let me go and smooth this out. I'm just going to stick this map in, the height map, and you'll see how it's reading that whiteness, and we can still adjust our smoothing to get a different look. So we have a highly reflective metallic material, and then this map is, blurring those areas. So again, I'm just going to pull that out. Then we're going to take a look at the render mode. So with the render mode, we're able to come in and add transparency. So we have 3 different transparency settings: cutout, fade, and transparent. When we're looking at these, they do the same thing. They use your alpha channel in your albedo. So I'm going to go into my albedo and put this map. And I still have the metallic on, so we want to turn that down. But we can use them in combination. I can have a metallic map. So I'm going to turn that down, and we're just going to use this map. And when we look at it, it's just this turquoisey color. If I come in and change this to cutout, you'll see that I do have an alpha channel, and I have put white where I want it to be opaque and black where I want it to be transparent into the alpha channel. But I actually have a gradient ramp here that doesn't read in the cutout. So when we look at these, the difference between cutout and fade is fade picks up the gradient ramp. And I just went and painted in the alpha channel in Photoshop, which we'll look at in a second. So we have a nice hard edge, and then we're able to get a very faded edge with this fade. So again, cutout, hard edge only, so it doesn't read a gradient. Fade will read the gradient. And then when you go down to transparent, we have a different situation where it shows the edges of the plane. So what's happening here is when we go in, we have fade. Where we have any specular, it is applying the map. Now I am seeing a little bit of the edge. It could be my painting or the angle that we're at. But it's applying a map in the specular to stop the full reflection on this. When we go into transparent, it's not. And what you have is full specularity over the whole object, so it reads the object. Now why would you want this? If you have any glass in your scene, you may want it to be visible, that there is something there. So by having this transparent, we'll notice that there is a plane there. There is an object. And that's what those are. So let's just take a quick look in Photoshop. I do have this map. So if we go into my regular layers, you'll just see I have one layer on the background, and it is the color. And then in my channels, I added a new channel, and this is the alpha channel. And I just paint it into the alpha channel. So filled with black, and then paint in. When I go to save it, I just want to make sure I have a file type that supports the alpha. So in this case, I used a TGA. Save to my computer. So the Targa TGA is the one that I'm using, and it's the better to use. Make sure your alpha channel is checked on, and make sure you do have something in the alpha channel for it to read. So this is where it's pulling that data from. And that's it. That's how you're going to do transparency in your maps, and how to set up a basic material standard shader in Unity.